Hi everyone, I am going to do a little tutorial. Somebody on here, Chris with a K, has asked if I could show her how to fussy cut. So the Prima dolls seem to be the hit right now, so I'm going to cut out a Prima doll that I stamped and I will show you how I fussy cut. So there could be other ways of doing it, but this is the way I do it. You need a sharp pair of really small scissors. They're sharp. Oh, hang on, it's stuck. They're sharp and have quite a pointy little end. So whatever's comfortable in your fingers. I have another pair here too that I use these sometimes too. They're a little bit bigger, depending on how heavy the card stock is. Sometimes the bigger ones are a little easier. Anyways, this one doesn't have a ton of fine lines except for around the shoes. Those shoelaces are. So I will show you and we'll get started. Okay, so why not start at the bottom where it's the hardest? I'll start at the top where it's a little easier to start. The trick that my art teacher taught me was to move your paper, not so much your scissors. So as you cut with your scissors, you are keeping your scissors pretty well in the same spot, and you turn the paper. So find a comfortable spot to keep your scissors and you turn your paper. Now this is heavy duty cardstock. I bought this at a crafting convention and it was from Canadian Magazine. And so it's pretty strong, but it's good for working on projects. So I have quite a little collection of dolls cut out already. So when I'm in the cutting mood, I stamp and pre-cut a whole bunch of my dolls, and that way when it comes the day that I want to use one, all the hard work is done and I don't have to get out the stamping, and I don't have to get out a lot of the stuff that I would to do this. Okay, so we're coming to the shoelaces. The part that I dread is the shoelaces. Sometimes I cut them off, sometimes I don't keep them on there. But basically just a tiny little bit of turn. Try and just cut off those chunks of paper because they do get in your way when you're trying to move it around and around your fingers. So basically you are just cutting a little bit with your scissors and turning the paper at the same time. So it's not a fast process. You do this slowly, methodically. They don't call it fussy for nothing. It is fussy cutting. And then when you make the clothing to go over top of it, it's the same thing. I tend to go on the outside of the line so that it hangs over your pattern underneath. See, you get them cut out pretty good. And sometimes it's easier to come from the other side. So if that's quite a tight little corner to get into, so what I do is I cut from the other way. Depending on your scissors and how careful you are, you just have to come to that little spot where you cut into on the other side. So I hope, Chris, that helps. It's just a little quick tutorial. I'll show you how I do in the middle of her legs. Sometimes I cut it out, sometimes I don't, depending on what background I'm going to have. Sometimes if my background is a specific color, I will use my Copic pens and kind of shade in the color that's in the background, and I don't cut it out. But if you are going to cut it out, you can do it with scissors. I tend to use my razor blade just because I find it easier, and a new blade definitely makes your life a lot easier. But I will show you how I do it. I don't do it on top of this mat because I have done it once or twice where I've accidentally cut into it, but I take that away, and my self-healing mat is underneath it, so that's where I cut. So I move that over. Basically with this one's brand new, so I just put it in. I go from one corner and I start around. If it's not too intricate, then you can do it in a fail swoop. But if there is some tiny corners, I just do a little bit at a time. But you will see the difference between having a sharp blade and a not so sharp blade. One, you try and turn a corner and it doesn't work. And the other one is a much easier way to get it out there. There. All right, so there she is, all cut out. I hope this helped, and we'll talk to you again with the next tip. Thanks!